वृषभश्च एकदन्तश्च कपिलो गजकर्णकः लम्बोदरश्च विकटो विघ्नराजो विनायकः धूमकेतुर्गणाध्यक्षः पालचन्द्रो गजाननः वक्रतुण्डः शूर्पकर्णो हेरम्बः स्कन्दपूर्वजः शुक्लाम्बरधरम् विष्णुम् शशिवर्णम् चतुर्भुजम् प्रसन्नवदनम् ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये यस्य विरदवक्त्राद्याः पारिषद्याः परःसतम् विघ्नम् निघ्नन्ति सततम् विश्वक्षेणम् तमाश्रये गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय कृष्णाय अशिष्टकारिणे नमो वेदान्तवेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे कृष्णद्वैपायनम् व्यासम् सर्वभूतहिते रतम् वेदाब्जभास्करम् वन्दे समाधिनिलयम् मुनिम् सहस्रमूर्ते पुरुषोत्तमस्य सहस्रनेत्रानन पादबाहोः सहस्रनाम्नाम् स्तवनम् प्रशस्तम् निरुच्यते जन्मजरादिशान्तये. Now we came up to slokam. We were answering, got into the answers to question number 3, I believe. And let us continue. Kimekam daivatam loke kimvapyekam parayanam suvantah kam kamarchantah prapniyot manavasubham ko dharmat sarva dharmanam bhavata paramomatah kim japan muchyate jandur janma samsara bandhanat. Right? Now Bhishma says, Bhishma uvacha Jagat Prabhum Devadevam Anantam Purushottamam Suvannama Saha Purushaha Tatataha Utti. Right? Now that is to answer to question number 6. We begin. That we covered. And then question number 4. Sameva Sarchayan Nityam. Question number 4 is what? Kamarchantaha Prapnihu Manavas Subham. Now for that the answer is Sameva Charchayan Nityam Bhaktya Purushamabhi Dhyayan Stuvan Namasyam Cha Yajamanas Sameva Cha. Right? Now question number 3 is what? Stuvantaha Kam. Right? So you all know now Stuti, Archanai, Dhyanam, Tapas. Okay? They are one and the same actually. When you do it the right way, they are all one and the same. But they are all different activities we do. So please understand that very carefully. So number 3, Stuvantaha kam kamarchantaha prapniyur manavaha subham. We said Anadi Nidhanam Vishnum Sarvaloka Maheswaram Lokadhyaksham Stuvan Nityam Sarvadukkadigo Bhavet. And then we finished that. We came up to the all. He gives one more slokam is there. One more answer is there. Says Brahmanyam Sarvadharmajnam Lokanam Kirti Vardhanam Lokanatham Mahatbhutam Sarvabhuta Bhavodbhavam Sarva Dukkadigo Bhavet. Okay? Stuvan Nityam Sarva Dukkadigo Bhavet. Now, we came up to that point. Lokanatham. Okay? Lokanatham, immediately ruler of the world, we thought. No. We have to think more closely than that. When we pray to Bhagavan, what are the things that are taking place there? Okay, because he is the one, the refuge, the only refuge, the final refuge after going to many other places and finding that we have gone to the wrong place because our requests, our desires, our abhilashas, all these things cannot be really fulfilled. And we can go to the boss seeking a raise, but sometimes you get a raise, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get a raise that is less than what you want, right? And you do a very good job and you don't get rewarded for it. So we're going to the wrong place to get our. So it is called, the first one is seeking refuge. Where is the place where we go to seek refuge? That is Lokanatham. Okay, and then who is the ruler of everything? There is a master that whose rule, whose law, whose command cannot be violated. Even though we are not obeying his instructions, okay, he still bears with us, right? Because imagine if Bhagavan gets angry at us, where will we go? That's why he never gets angry. But so we always say Kshamikara and all that, Chamasvatkam, we think we've done a great job. He's already forbearing us. He's already bearing us. There is nothing that we have to request for him to do. And that master, that ruler is Lokanatham. And why is he bearing and forbearing and caring for us and cares for us? Because he is protecting us. Isn't it? So he is the protector. That is also Lokanatham. He is the only one. And there is a fourth aspect that Shankara gives, is the word called Niyanta. Niyanta means he is the master, the final authority on anything. So that is Lokanatham. And that is nothing but prema, selfless love. And if all these aspects will apply only to that selfless love, nothing else. It will apply. You can think of anything else, these qualities will not apply. So, Lokanatham. So, he is the master of all, protector of all, he is our final refuge, and he is the final authority. Okay? Lokanatham. Mahadbhutam. Mahadbhutam. He is bigger than anything that you can think of. Not only immediately, we are all trained to think only in terms of physical appearances, and we think that is what. No, creation is mental. Physical is subsidiary. And so, anything the mind creates, and what can the mind do? Mind is infinite power. I mean, it can think of the smallest one and also the biggest one, and even beyond that. And even bigger than that, Mahat Bhutam. Okay? And Sarva Bhuta Bhava Udbhavam. Sarva Bhuta Bhava Udbhavam. Sarva Bhuta. Mahat Bhutam Sarva Bhuta. Sarva Bhuta, all beings. Now we're talking of physical beings now. Okay? Now, Sarva Bhuta Bhava Udbhavam. What is this Bhava? All the experiences that we all go through, challenges, difficulties, happiness, miseries, all the agitations, it's always roller coaster we are going through. But Udbhavam, who is the one who is giving all these experiences? Udbhavam, to create, to make happen. He is the one who is making happen. Because I am not following his rule, all these ups and downs, the amplitude goes up in the graph, right? But it should never be a straight line. Why? Because I am not following his rule. Simple. So that Namasmaranam you do. Okay, that Bhishma will say when later on it will come. So Sarva Bhuta Bhava Udbhavam Brahmanyam Sarvadharmajnam Lokanam Kirti Vardhanam Lokanatham Mahadbhutam Sarva Bhuta Bhavodbhavam. Then for him Stuvan Nityam Sarva Dukkha Adikaha Bhavet. So to him you do stuti, praise him with love in your heart all the time. Satataha uttitaha, satatam, always, in all places. Okay? Now question number 5. Ko dharmaha sarvadharmanam bhavataha paramo mataha. Ko dharmaha sarvadharmanam dharmaha. Ko, kaha. Right? Kaha. Sarvadharmanam dharmaha. Among all the dharmas, kaha dharmaha, which dharmam is the best? Bhavataha, in your respected sir, mataha, in your opinion, paramaha is supreme. Sarvadharmanam ko dharmaha paramaha. Do you understand? And so which dharma among all the dharmas is supreme? Bhavato, bhavataha mataha, in your esteemed opinion, sir, most respected sire, he says. Because he is so knowledgeable. So what is your opinion? So he says, Yesha me sarva dharmanam dharmo dhikatamo mataha yad bhaktya pundari kaksham swarair akshennaras sada. Yeshaha, this, me mataha, in my opinion, sarva dharmanam adhika dharmaha. Among all the dharmas, this is the supreme, in my opinion. This, yeshaha, what? Yat bhaktya pundari kaksham swaraihi archen naraha sada. Naraha, man. Yet, which? Bhaktya pundari kaksham. Bhaktya prayachami. Most important verb. Among apply to all the things. Without this, it's all tinsel, as Rajaji says. Nothing. It is just a show. That's all. It may glisten, but there is nothing in there. So where there is no bhakti, there is no Bhagavan. So you may do all the things you want. You may get the best name in the world. Aha, what a great bhakta he is, but Bhagavan will not be moved. And so bhaktya, this love for Bhagavan, the total exclusive love. Okay? Yes. Which one? Bhakti Pundari Kaksham. Pundari Kaksham is the Pundarikam. It denotes lotus flower. Okay? In Sanskritam, there are different words describing the lotus flower. Different aspects. Padnam, Sarojam, so many things are there. Abjam, so many words. But each one describes one aspect of the lotus flower. But in English, we have only one word. So I'm saying lotus flower. Pundarika Aksham. So what is this lotus eyes? Okay? No. It is the effulgence of prema that is seated on the lotus flower in your heart, in your hridayam. From there, he is not seeing everything, because Bhagavan is the one that gives the power to see, the effulgence that is spreading all over, that encompasses everything, that includes everything. So Bhagavan is the only entity that is inclusive, all inclusive. We are all not like that. We always exclude things. We like some people, we include them. We don't like some people, we exclude them. Simple, isn't it? We like some experiences, we include it. We don't like some experiences, we exclude them. So we are all, no, Bhagavan includes. He is the only entity who includes all. So how does it, that effulgence spreads and includes it? Come on, it encompasses and invites and takes it home. Can you think of, is there any place where effulgence is not present? Including darkness, it is present. Isn't it? We've covered that. Pundari Kaksham. So Pundari Kaksham is the effulgence of prema that is in our heart, in our hridayam, and shining forth all over, encompassing, including everything. That is why everyone, whether he is a thief or a saint, goes only to Bhagavan, because he invites. Door is never closed. Okay? And that Pundari Kaksham, please remember, it is that selfless love shining forth within. Bhaktya Pundari Kaksham. Do you understand? So if the moment I look to it, and I look that, automatically I become loving. Then I love it more and more. The moment I embrace and wear that love, automatically everything becomes loving. You have to love others. Dvesham will decrease, ragam will, all these things will start decreasing. Pundari ek bhaktya pundari kaksham stavaihi archen sada stavaihi sada archen. So love, that's what love in English, loving God totally exclusively. Okay, that is what bhakti is, putting it in a very simple manner. Totally and exclusively. Sada bhaktya yat, which one? Savaihi, always the moment I look at unbelievable, wondrous, amazing thing, automatically will be praising it only. How come this is taking place? It's beyond my intelligence. So naturally you'll be wonderstruck when that praise will come in a natural manner of the infinite compassion. All the creations, the created stuff will become infinitesimal. They become irrelevant in the company of Bhagavan because they're all nothing. We may call it miracle, but they're all nothing. When you're amazed at the thing that creates all this beauty, praise will come of the infinite compassion that you taste it, automatically you'll praise only. Then Archen, then wherever you see, whatever you see, you'll be doing only Archana to that. You'll be doing only worship to that. Sada bhaktya naraha yat naraha. Which man sada tavaihi archen pundarikaksham yeshaha, that me mataha, in my opinion, sarva dharmanam adhika dharmaha. Okay. Adhika tamaha dharmaha. Okay? Yesha me sarva dharmanam dharmo dikatamo matah yad bhaktya pundarikaksham svarair archen narasada. Now, first he talked about the pathway, what to do, okay, where to do it, how to do it. Now, the second question comes. Kimekam daivatam loke. Kim, okay, but to whom I should do this? What is the final place of refuge? Parayanam. Okay, so explaining the pathway, now Bhishmacharya takes up the penultimate question. Wherever we go in life, we have a goal in mind. Coming here, you have a goal in mind. You had the address, so you know where to go, you came here. So, where is Bhagavan? What is that goal that I should go after? Do we understand that? It is not the temple. It is a temple in your heart. Okay? So, but we go everywhere else. We go to the wrong place. We seek the wrong things. Right? So the question is very beautifully put. So the answer has to be precisely understood. Okay? The question is, Kim va api ekam parayanam? Kim va pekam parayanam? Parayanam. The final, unchangeable place from where there is no return. Knowing which you know everything else. What is that? Kim va api, and ekam parayanam. There is only one entity. What is that? That place. Okay, parayanam. For that, Bhishmacharya answers, Paramamyo mahat tejaha, Paramamyo mahat tapaha, Paramamyo mahat brahma, Paramam yaha parayanam. Okay? Paramamyo mahat teja, Paramamyo mahat tapaha, Paramamyo mahat brahma, Paramam yah parayanam. Paramam yaha mahat tejaha, Paramam. Supreme. Yaha, who, which, because that whatever we put in our English, it doesn't capture that. You can say Yaha, which, where, whatever, whom, everything will apply. Okay? Mahat Tejaha. We have covered this many times in our discussion. Simple. Where does the sun is effulgent. We all can relate to light. The moment we say effulgent, we think of sun. Right? Or we think of an electric light. Or we think of a candle flame. That's the way our mind works. Jyoti, we think of lighting the lamp. But do we ever think for a second, where does that effulgence come from? What is the effulgence, the great effulgence, the underlying effulgence that gives this cognizable effulgence? What is the effulgence in darkness that makes it cognizable? The same effulgence that makes the sun also cognizable. Isn't it? Think for a second. When you go at a very dark place at night time and look at a starry sky, you're not in the city, you're way down in the boondocks, say in a forest or hiking or something. Beautiful starry night. And you look up, you're able to see the stars. You think the light of the star gives you that effulgence? No, the effulgence is within. So don't think that effulgence is only limited to the sunlight. We say Koti Suri Samaprabha and all this we say. Immediately we think, Koti Suryam, we think physically. No, it is the subtlest of the subtle thing that makes it shine. It is nature is to shine. The nature is effulgence. Okay, that Mahat Tejaha, Paramam Yaha Mahat Tejaha, Paramam Yaha Mahat Tapaha. The Paramam is supreme. Paramam is the biggest, is the strongest, is something that is beyond everything else that we can cognize with our senses and we think with our mind. It is beyond that. Okay, that is Paramam. Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha is what Taittiriya Upanishad says. So, beyond our first thing is we have to decouple is that from our senses, whatever we perceive with our five senses is only limited. There is something beyond that. We all know how, because our mind can think beyond that. Correct? Our mind can think beyond all the five senses. Think of your mind, my God, it does so many things. But there is something beyond the mind also that even the mind cannot capture. Now, that entity, whether we agree or not, whether we acknowledge or not, whether we follow it or not, there is an inviolable command, a rule that is in operation. That is called rhythm. It is called, in science we say law of reaction. So reaction is only, we think force. We think physical. No. It is reaction, reflection and resound. All the three are taking place. If a thought thinks something, it is going to react, it is going to reflect, it is going to resound. Where is that law coming from? Who has established that law? Whether I agree with it or not doesn't matter. The law is in operation. It is called Ajnai, command. That is tapam. Tapam. Tapam is the purification of mental agitations. That is also a command taking place there. Why the agitations come? Because of impurities. Because I am not following the Ajnai. I am not following the fundamental rule. So all the agitations come. In physics we call it as a state of equilibrium. When something is in equilibrium, nothing changes. It just stays. You move it out of equilibrium, what happens? Other forces come in to bring it back to equilibrium, right? Ultimately. My mind is also, nature is like that. But what is the rule that says everything has to be in equilibrium? What is that Ajnai? So I gave you a physical example so we can relate to it. Okay, thoughts are like that. Mental thoughts are exactly like that. They are all not in equilibrium. That is why the agitation is. But the Ajnai, the command, is come to equilibrium. You must stay in equilibrium, which is live in love. Live in prema. That is the only equilibrium. Then there is no waves. But what is that command, that rule that makes that you have got to be in equilibrium, otherwise you are going all over the place? Mahat tapaha. The process of getting back into equilibrium is also tapas. But for the process to take place and produce a result, there has got to be an underlying rule. That is Mahat Tapaha. Mahat Tapaha, not just ordinary tapas. That is Yaha Mahattapaha Paramam. That supreme entity. Please understand. This is the prema, the selfless love that is effulgent everywhere. And it's a prema that's not going to let you go till you become prema itself. That is what merging is, that is what samadhi, all the words we use. Nothing but to become selfless love itself. That Mahattapaha Param. That is the final Parayanam is pointing out. Okay? Paramam yo Mahattejaha, Paramam yo Mahattapaha, Paramam yo Mahat Brahma. Now, this, we're all taught to think, from young age. Brahma means immediately creator. Non-Mohan, we say Brahma, okay, with 4 heads, and we go immediately saying, nothing wrong in that. But you cannot limit Brahma to that. Brahma simply means expanding, most expansive. What is it that is expanding all the time? It is not like we talked about this, pour water in a vessel, the water expands to take the shape of the vessel. When you immediately go away. But a really wise person will think, what makes it expand like that? If I put a stone in there, it doesn't expand. But I put water in it, it expands. And same way, you take a vacuum, put air in it, air expands. We all know this. But have you ever thought behind to think, why? We say, okay, molecules, because of this state. We go into all those scientific studies, okay? Yeah, but still, what gives it that characteristic to expand? Then we think there is something that is extremely subtle. The grossest thing has to become the most subtle. That is the expansiveness. From the earth, Panchabhutanga we know. Right? The moment we say Akasham and I say space, it is so subtle we can't even conceive of it. But we know it is there. The moment I say air, we can conceive of it because we feel it. Isn't it? It is less subtle than Akasham. The moment I say fire, Agni, yes, I can see the light also. The air was touch only. Now light I see immediately, heat is there as well as vision is there. Okay, then water is there. Right, it's a little bit less subtle than that. Then come to earth, it is the subtlest. We are all Panchabhutangas, we are all gross bodies. But we have to think beyond it. What's the subtlest one? The subtler it is, Akasham, space is occupying everything else, but not earth. The grossest one cannot occupy, like a stone cannot expand, but air can expand, isn't it? Subtler it is, the more expansive it becomes. To understand it in a physical sense. So I'm trying to explain what Brahma is physically so that we can relate to it. Now we go beyond physical to mind. The mind expands phenomenally. Right? Sitting here in this corner, some nook, infinitesimal, not even a dot in the scheme of the space, mind can go to the boundaries, the borders of space itself and try to explore it. Sitting right here, how? It can expand. Just like that, instantly it can go wherever it wants. Isn't it? Extremely subtle. I cannot capture mind in a box or something. Extremely subtle. But what gives it that ability to expand like that? Mahat Brahma. You understand? So it is the underlying essence in everything that we have to look at. That is where Bhagavan is. That is what indweller, Vishnu means. Okay? That Mahat Brahma, and that is Prema, selfless love. Selfless love, when you really experience it, all of us are nothing but that. We are bottling it up with our selfishness. And how do I bottle it up? Example. Simple. I've got money. Do I part with it to others easily? No. Why? Because I love that money. I love that money. Where is that love coming from? That is selfish love. But the selfless love is present in everything we do. everything. I love my child. Do I love somebody else's child the same way? Why? The love is still there, but it is selfish love. Because that selfless love, I'm bottling it in my limit. I born and grow up, all of a sudden, I marry someone I didn't even know anything about. The moment the marriage takes place, what happens? Is my husband, my wife, and then I get a child. That's it. That love becomes with what? Person who you didn't even know for so many years in your life. But all of a sudden, that becomes your primary thing. Why? That selfless love is prompting, always acting, but I am filtering it with like a jaundiced eye, looking at yellow. I'm putting my glass of selfishness in it. Do you understand? So, but that is why my selfish love is not expanding. It is limiting to the money I have. No, I cannot give this to him. Right? So money. If you look at life from the angle of money, the dollars or whatever money we have in banks or wherever else, or the house we have, look at how that money is looking at me for a second. Have you ever thought of it? You may think I have $1 million in the bank and go happy and all this. But that money that is in my account, how is it looking at me? I mean, just imagine. It's amazing. It is laughing all the time. Today I'm with you, tomorrow I'm going to be with somebody else. I have a house worth so much today and tomorrow the value may go down. So many things happen. And I may have all this money and tomorrow I may fall sick and the money goes to the doctor. I mean, look at it from the angle of the money. It is with me temporarily and tomorrow it might chuck me and go. The same money may have my own child fight with me to get and it go. So many things happen. Just look at it from the angle of the money. And that money I'm holding on to thinking that it belongs to me. Don't make that stupid mistake. It's what Bhaja Govindam Adi Shankara says so clearly. So you want to experience that Parayanam, expand. Don't contract. Contracting is unnatural. Unnatural. What is the opposite of love? Which is what we all do in life. Not hatred. No. Rejection. Just think. You being rejected somewhere, being rejected by somebody, be rejected for whatever it is, how do you feel? Why do you feel that way? Because it is unnatural. It is against the law of Bhagavan, the Ajnai. Anything unnatural, it's out of equilibrium. So, the opposite of love is rejection, exclusion. Do you understand? So, think very carefully, brothers and sisters. This is not a joke. Okay? So, if you really want, Bhishmacharya says, Yat bhaktya pundarikaksham sware achenarasada paramam yo mahatteja. Now, if you really want to touch Bhagavan, who is always embracing you, present within you, in front of you, above you, on your side, on your back, below you, everywhere. It's like the air surrounding me. Bhagavan is surrounding me all the time. But I don't realize it. But if I want to touch him and taste the sweetness that he really is, I must expand my heart. Expansion is love. I must expand my heart. Which means, that is why I must do seva. Seva is not for I've done this service there, I've gone and done there, fed somebody. No. If you don't feed him, so Bhagavan will find somebody else to feed him. For your heart to become less selfish and more soft and more inclusive of everything around. Simple challenge I throw to you, an experiment you can follow. Go and share the money you have with somebody else. Fulfill somebody's need today. A stranger that you don't even know. Give somebody a kind word. Seriously, will you part with the money you have? Think. Then you think, why am I resisting parting with my money? Then that itself will take you to Bhagavan's lotus feet. Because Bhagavan will guide you. Okay? that Mahat Brahma, the most expansive and always expansive, expanding thing in everything that we see, that is Bhagavan. So, the Paramam Yo Mahat Brahma, Paramam Yaha Parayanam. That is the most supreme final abode from which Parayanam, Yaha Parayanam, which place from where there is no return. Once I touch love and embrace it, you will never become unloving or selfish ever again. Ever again. Automatically you will see. Amazing the experience will be. So, that from once you taste it, that knowledge you have, knowing that knowledge, everything else will be known. And that place, there is no birth, there is no death. That is Parayanam. Yaha Parayanam, Yat Mahat Brahma, Yat Mahat Tejaha, Yat Mahat Tapaha, that is Paramam. That is supreme. Okay? So, Kilva api ekam parayanam. Paramam yo mahat tejaha, paramam yo mahat tapaha, paramam yo mahat brahma, paramam yap parayanam. Now finally Bhishmacharya gives answer to the first question. Because to understand the answer to the first question, you've got to understand all the other things. Then if that is the final Parayanam, that is the Kim Ekam Daivatam Loke. Aha. Who is the one? We call it God, we call it Bhagavan, we call it Daivatam, doesn't matter. What is that Kim Ekam? What is? Tell me for sure, as Arjuna says, no confusion, no doubt, no confused teaching. That one single thing with clarity. Tell me certainly. That is Kim Ekam Daivatam Loke. That he is now answering. Okay. Daivatam Devatanam cha bhutanam yovyaya pita yatat sarti pavitranam pavitram yo mangalanam cha mangalam. That we will take here. Pavitranam pavitram yo mangalanam cha mangalam. Daivatam devatanam cha bhutanam yovyaya pita yatat sarvani bhutani bhavantyadi yugagame yasvimcha pralayam yanti punareva yugakshaye. Okay. Tasya loka. That one, right. That one will come into next one. Okay. I'll take that separately because it's a very important slokam also. We will take these two slokams first. Pavitranam pavitram yo mangalanam cha mangalam daivatam devatanam cha bhutanam yovyaya pita yatas sarvani bhutani bhavantyadi yugagame yasvimcha pralayam yanti punareva yugakshaye. Pavitranam pavitram yaha. Okay. Pavitram. Now, if you take, all of us do this, okay, and some of us are doing this more often than others. Very simple activity that we do. But this is where this latest fad of saying mindfulness, which my young friend will know immediately what I mean. Mindfulness is the latest fad. Pay attention to the moment. Right? This is where, if you pay attention to the moment, okay, saying is, past is past, don't worry about it. Future is uncertain. Why? The present is omnipresent. So, there is Bhagavan present right in the present moment. If I pay attention to something that I am doing, immediately you see the whole thing starts expanding and a certain peace comes in immediately. Why I am bringing this introduction? Next time you go and say, and you see your countertop a bit dirty, what is automatically you do? Some of us bypass it and hoping somebody else will clean it. But those of us who go to clean it, what do? We take a cloth
or paper towel, and we just wipe it like that? No. We put some water on it, right? And put it, immediately it goes away. And we go away happy. Now, have you ever stopped to think how water cleans it? Seriously. We all take it for granted. Right? And then when something, water is not good, we go all these chemicals, 409 and all the other stuff that we go and then we breathe that air and it affects our health. That is another story. But what gives the power in water to clean, let's say, a physical impurity? If physically we say, physics says, or dissolve something, impurities and all these equations I can give on the molecular structure and everything else. No. But what makes it dissolve and remove? Where is that power coming from? So, when you remove an impurity and something, that makes it pure. Physically, it becomes clean, we call it pure. Okay? Now, mentally, we all have so many thoughts all the time that in spite of, because we're not putting in enough effort, so mind is always controlling us, instead of us controlling the mind, right? And problem is, when something, what I like to happen, good happen, somebody praises me or something like that, my mind feels good, right? And now if something happens that I don't like, then becomes angry, becomes agitated, right? Goes all over the place. That agitation, when you go into either alone or in a group, you go to a bhajan singing, or you go to Nama Sankirtanam, or you recite Sahasranamam in a group, or you do Archana, you go to puja room, or something, or you think of love within your heart. Somebody who hurt you, you think, no, the same Bhagavan is present there also, and you project the image of your God in that person's heart. Something, whatever you do, in the company, seek the company of Bhagavan, seek the company of this. Most of us Archane, fine, we read a form and all that, nothing wrong. Rama, Krishna, Venkataraja, it doesn't matter. But you seek the company of that Bhagavan in whichever way you want. What happens to that thought and agitation? You get involved in it, that goes away. For that moment it goes away. Later on it may come. That is because of lack of practice. That is different. That is immediately like putting the water and the impurity goes away, this also cleans it. That means that has got more power than the impurity, isn't it? So, pavitram, pavitrana means all the impurities to remove. We use so many purification things like stuti, praising Bhagavan, like archanai, like dhyanam, like doing tapas, like doing seva, talking kindly, talking lovingly. So many things we do to purify, right? To remove impurities, both mental and physical and emotional and spiritual impurities, right? So many things we do. And it happens, it does have effect, right? They all make it a bit pure and pure. But what is it among all the pavitrams, the element, the essence that gives purity, that purifies everything in the place of that entity there is no impurity at all. The impurity comes in when there is separation, isn't it? Doesn't matter. The moment I separate from something, impurity comes in because it is unnatural. But if I'm one with everything else, where is impurity? Isn't it? That oneness is prema. You apply this, if prema to everything in life, you will find that purifies it. If I think lovingly of somebody, what happens? If I speak compassionately, console, someone is suffering, I don't Only Bhagavan, no. I can sit and say, sir, that's all your karma, sir. What can I do? That's not the way to talk. You're not helping the person. How do you know it is karma? You read in some books and you're mouthing it. Have you experienced it? No. That is Bhagavan's job. Why are you worried about it? What is your job? Why does Swami put somebody in your pathway who's suffering? You mean to say he cannot take care of that person who's suffering by himself? No, he wants to take care of that person through you as an instrument. So you obey. What is his command? Be loving to that person. How can I be loving? Some console, give some loving, kind words. Oh, everything will be all right. Don't worry. How does that person feel? That is how you should relate. Be loving. Become more loving in speech, more loving in action. Okay? And more loving in thoughts. That is how that Pavitram takes place. Then you become an embodiment of Pavitram itself. You become an embodiment of Pavitram. That selfless love from within starts shining and shining and shining. You will find the closer the proximity to a person is to Bhagavan's lotus feet, the more loving the person will be, the more kind he will be. They will not be angry, they will not use harsh words. Harsh words are the worst sin that you can commit. More cruel than physical violence. Because physical damage can be corrected with medications or whatever. But mental hurt, how many yugas, how many lives you are going to go through? Because that pain will always be there every time you recall. Very bad. So, harsh, all those will not be there, people who are really yogis. They'll be soft. They'll be kind-spoken, compassionate. So, that is very important. That pavitram pavitranam, that getting into that purity is a very limited English word I'm using, okay? It's lack of impurity. So, among all the pure things that are there, there are so many bhaktas, they were all very pure, but among all them, what is the essence, what is the final pavitram that is there? Okay, pavitram pavitranam yaha mangalanamscha mangalam. Now we all want sukham only. Who does not want sukham? Who wants dukham? You tell me. But we forget that sukham, happiness cannot be got out of happiness, isn't it? Happiness cannot be got out of happiness. You ever think about it? For you to get happiness, you have to have misery. You have to have some sadness. Otherwise, you cannot know what happiness is. Isn't it? So, mangalam is, so we all want sukham. We all want that experience, that consciousness, that awareness, way of living, whatever you want to call it, again, limited way or unlimited way, whatever it is. So that thing we want, that's a goal. Then there is a process of getting there. There is a tool, sadhanam, we say, sadhyam, sadhanam, right? And so what is the tool I have to employ? Okay. Then how to employ the tool? You need some knowledge, some shastram, right? So sadhyam, sadhanam, shastram, all the things you need. So all these things you got to have in order to reach with final mangalam. And what is mangalam? Mangalam is nothing but, in English we say auspiciousness. Immediately we have an idea what it is. No. Satyam, Sivam, Sundaram. What Sundaram is Mangalam. So Satyam, truth is Mangalam. Satyam is Mangalam. Okay. Sivam means auspiciousness. That is Mangalam. It is only Satyam can be Mangalam. And because it is Mangalam, it is also very beautiful. That is why Bhagavan in any form will be most attractive. It is not to do with the physical features and the bone structures and all that. No, or the height or the lack of it and all that. Even a Vamana Avataram, when you think about it, when Bhagavan Satya Sai Baba, I recall, he is very short, but phenomenally attractive. You cannot take your eyes away from. When Bhagavan is present, the eyes will be present only on him. All the eyes. It's amazing. But it is not the physical beauty. Okay? It is because of the beauty of truth. Satyam. Right? Now, in our world, we think of, the ethical truth, the situational ethics is one word that we use in business. When I first heard it, I was amazed. I said, what? Situational ethics? Okay, then we go to a court, we say, I speak truth, nothing but the truth, the whole truth. What? There is nothing like nothing but the truth or the whole truth. There is only truth. There is no partial truth. But all these problems we have creates different levels of so-called auspiciousness, so-called sukham. Okay? Sukham, you understand the word, right? So, among all that, mangalanam cha mangalam, among all that, what is it that gives it sukham to all the things, comforts, and we have mental comforts, we have physical comforts, we have spiritual comfort, we have. Now we come here and we are in the field of spirituality. There is some sukham associated with that, right? But what is it? Satyam. The fundamental thing, that's Satyam. Satyam, Prema, Dharma, Shanti, they are all one and the same. There is no difference. Satyam means selfless love in speech. Dharma means selfless love in action. Thinking, speaking, acting. And Shanti means what? The being of selfless love. That is all it is. Okay? So, that Prema, where it is present, where Satyam is present, okay, where Dharma is present. Well, Bhishma already explained what is Dharma among all the Dharmas. Swarair Achchenaras Nityam Tada, Bhaktya, right? Remember that. That is where the real Dharma really is. Nowhere else. Okay? So at that point, when you are with that, that is Mangalam. That stage, the most auspicious among all the auspiciousness, the most Parama Sukham among all the Sukhams. So, Pavitranam Pavitram Yo Mangalanam Cha Mangalam Daivatam Devatanam Cha. We already saw that Mahat Tejaha, another way he is explaining that. Among all the Devas, we can relate to this personally in many ways. So the Deva that is giving me the vision, Deva that is making me hear, right? The Deva that is making me smell, the Deva that is making me think, right? The Deva that is giving me the impulse to do things, the Deva that is giving me the action to do. Everything is effulgence only. Deva that makes me understand. So many things. Don't for a minute think that I am doing this, which is what very difficult to get out of that feeling, but that's the teaching. Okay? Kartaham manyate iti. That is what Bhagavan, see, when you ever think of it, why Bhagavan, when you go to a temple, in our heart, Krishna, everywhere, whoever we think of, why does Bhagavan have Prasanna Vadanam? Why does he have, look at Balaji's face, nice, just a smile is about to bloom. Look at Bhagavan's face here, a smile is about to bloom. Why? Why is he not giving me a scowl and looking at me in an angry way? Because Bhagavan is always laughing. What is he laughing? Even though we are his children, see, Kartaham manyate iti, he says. These people are all thinking they are doing it. I am the one who is present within them and I am making it happen. Giving them the Shakti to do, the ability to do, the opportunity to do, the skills to do, and the action to do, and the results to do, and the compulsion to do. And these people think they are doing it. I am the one who is doing it. So, Kartaham manyate iti is what Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So, that effulgence that is present within us, making so many things, this one entity, and Shankaracharya, Bhagavad Pada himself will explain this at the end, before he starts the Bhashyam. Okay, so I will defer to that at that point. The one entity that is present infinite aspects are there, out of which 1,000 aspects are being captured. That is what our Vishnu Sahasranam is. Okay? Now, that effulgence, Daivatanam cha, so many things, infinite aspects. Just if you think even intellectually, you will be able to, you'll be amazed at how many effulgences are there. That is what we are part of. Daivatam, what is that one effulgence that is making it shine in so many infinite ways? Paramam yo, Pavitranam Pavitram yo, Mangalanam cha Mangalam, Daivatam, Devatanam cha, Bhutanam, ya, Avyayaha Pita, Bhutanam, for all the beings, Avyayaha, indestructible, Pita, the Father, Yaha, who? Who is our Father? The indestructible entity. Indestructible does not mean only in terms of time. Time and space and form. What is all our forms are all destructible, they destroy. But what is the indestructible thing in all of us? Right? Indestructible thing that from the time I was born, the time till I pass away, always with me. Wherever I go, space, doesn't matter. Avyayaha Pita, that Father, that Protector. Yaha, who? So, Pavitranam Pavitram yo, Mangalanam cha Mangalam, Daivatam Devatanam cha, Bhutanam yovyayah Pita. Yatas Sarvani Bhutani Bhavantyadi Yugagame. Yataha, from whom? Sarvani Bhutani, all the beings. Okay? Yuga Agame. Yuga Bhavanti. Yata Sarvani Bhutani Bhavanti. From whom all the beings exist. Bhavanti, show up, manifest when Yuga Agame. Yuga, in the beginning of Yuga, Agame, they came about. From whom all the beings have come at the beginning of time. Time now goes into different yugas. Okay? And now, Yasmin cha pralayam yanti punareva yuga chaye. Yasmin cha, and into whom? Pralayam yanti, at the time of pralayam, that means when the creation takes a break. Okay? The creator takes a nap, so to speak. He also has to sleep. Right? And that time, pralayam. That means all the creation stops. Right? I'm not talking Mahapralayam, but that is another. Same thing applies there also. Yanti, to go back to arrive at. Okay? Yes, unto him, pralayam yanti, at the time of pralayam, everything goes back to, into whom, punaha eva yuga chaye. Punaha eva, again and again, yuga chaye. At the chaye means end. When the yuga declines and ends, and into whom all sarvabhutanam pralayam yanti, all the beings go back to, from whom all the beings manifest at the beginning of yuga, and again at the end of yugas, into whom all the beings arrive at, dissolve in. Okay? Yasya tasya Loka pradhanasya. Okay, sir, things are manifested at the end of Yugam, they all go back there. In between, what happens? Loka pradhanasya. Yaha loka pradha. Who is the protector? Who is taking care of? Pradhanam. Okay? Not only protecting, we understand in English way. Taking care of, we understand. In whom everything is established in the lokam. In between also, Protecting means he is not away from us taking care of us. Like a way a mother is taking care of the child. No. We are established only in him. He is the dharma. Okay. Dharayati iti dharma. He is the one who is supporting us all the time. Okay. So, and in whom everything is established in between. Okay. Jagannathasya. Jagannatha. Lokanatha. Okay. Jagannatha. I'm not going to go into detail here because we have already covered the meaning of Natha. There are 4 meanings, right? Jagat, one meaning we take. Jagat. Ja means appear, to come, manifest. Gat, to go. Come and go. What is appearances and disappearances? That's all Jagat means. Mental appearances, mental disappearances. Physical appearances, physical disappearances. Emotional. Everything is applied. Jagannatha. Okay, Jagannathasya. Now, very important. Okay. You see, now, Yatas Sarvani Bhutani. Now, he explained Pavitranam Pavitram Yo, Mangalanam Cha Mangalam, Daivatam Devatanam Cha, Bhutanam Yogyaya Pita, Yatas Sarvani Bhutani. So, Yatas Sarvani Bhutani Bhavantyadi Yugagami. Yasminscha pralayam janti punareva yukakshaye tasya. His. Now, before we come to tasya, we have to put in loka pradhanasya. He is also the one in whom everything is established. Tasya, his. Do you understand? Tasya Jagannathasya. Jag Jagannathas. Okay. Vishnur Nama Sahasram. The first question is answered in the previous 2 slokas. Okay. Here, the Tasya Loka Pradhanasya Jagannathasya Bhupate is continuing. After answering all the 6 questions, now Tasya Jagannathasya Vishnur Nama Sahasram. Vishnu, the indweller, the entity that is present in everything, Sahasranamam. Okay, infinite names, not 1,000. Infinite names. Here, Sahasram has got meaning. Don't confuse it as 1,000. Because next slokam, Bhishmacharya explains, how can I tell you infinite names? So he is going to answer that. Okay. So, Vishnu Nama Sahasram Tasya Sahasranamam Me Srunu. Beautiful it is. Oh, Bhupate Me Srunu. A Bhupate, a king, is addressing Yudhishthira. Bhupate. Understand? A king. Me Srunu. Now, me, I will tell you, Srunu, you listen. Hear that from me. Me Srunu. A Bhupate. A beautiful answer. When he asked the question in the beginning, Yudhishthira asked the question because this is the person who will give the answer. You cannot ask the question to everybody. He knows he will get the answer. With that expectation, right? With that assurance in his own mind, with that confidence, he asked the question. Because he knows he is going to get the answer, so he is already listening. But when Bhishma tells him, Ye Bhupate me Shrunu, it's a beautiful interchange. Bhishma is also extremely happy that he is the most qualified student to hear this answer. Listen, I say, telling him, hear me. Okay, I tell you, listen, hear that from me, those infinite names of that Bhagavan, that Jagannathasya. Okay, why? Next one is Papa Bhaya Apaham. Okay. Now, the Yudhishthira's question is not for his salvation. Remember that. This is the beauty. See, we come to the class here and on the telephone sections we have. We all probably each one of us, you analyze yourself, we come to take something from the class with a certain limited selfish motive. What can I benefit? How can I benefit? What can I learn? Do I come to the class thinking, how can I benefit others? That simple paradigm shift in thinking, at some point in time we have to learn. And we have to get better at it. When we really get better at, say, thinking, what can I contribute to the class by arriving on time? Because when I come late, what happens? I'm thinking only of myself. I disturb others. I disturb the class. I disturb the message. What am I doing? Because that is selfishness. The moment I start thinking of others' benefit, I guarantee you, you will never be late to the class. Never. Because you put others' benefits ahead of yours. Simple thing, practice it. Now, how did Yudhishthira ask? Look, this question was, Jantuhu janma samsara bandhanat prapnihu manavaha subham. That is what he is asking. So that all the beings can benefit. So all the humanity can attain sukham only. That is what he is asking. Because of that, he becomes an ideal student. Ideal student. And Bhishma acknowledges, Me srunu papa bhaya apaham. You will hear that from me, so that all the papangal, all the sins will go away and the fears all will be eliminated. This Sahasranamam, hear that from me. Okay? Jagannathasya Vishnoho Nama Sahasram Lokapradhanasya. See, beautiful. Every word is a treasure that you can just get that and dive into this ocean of prema. Any word you can pick, dive into the ocean. Just with that simple thing. Papa bhaya apaham. Automatically it will come. Okay? So, Pavitranam pavitram yo mangalanam cha mangalam daivatam devatanam cha bhutanam yo vyaya pita yatat sarvani bhutani bhavantyadi yugagame yasminscha pralayam yanti punareva yugakshaye tasya loka pradhanasya jagannathasya bhupate vishnoho nama sahasram me srunu papa bhayapaham. Nama sahasram, infinite names. How is it possible? Yani namani gaunani vikhyatani mahatmanaha rishibhihi parigitani tani vakshyami bhutaye. Now he answers that question. Let's understand this properly. Okay? It is not 1,000 names. It is yani namani gaunani vikhyatani mahatmanaha. Okay, Rishibhihi, Parigitani, Yani Namani Gaunani, Rishibhihi Parigitani, Vyakhyatani, Vikhyatani. Okay. See, Yani Namani, among those infinite names, those names, Yani Namani, whatever names, Gaunani, describing the various gunas, by whom? Rishibhihi. Mantra Drishta is what Rishi is. Those, something that is Gunatitaya, doesn't have any gunas, any characteristics, beyond all the gunas, something that is beyond all the names, how can I worship, how can I praise? These Mantra Drishtas, okay, they saw Bhagavan experience this effulgence in many aspects of it. So those become the gunas. Krishna is so loving, so mischievous, so naughty, so playful. So many things, we can give, right? They experienced it. So various gunas that came. How Damodara came, how Krishna played with his mother. That what happened immediately when you think of it, when you hear that story, you feel so good. So they gave the name Damodara, like that. So each gunas, the aspect of effulgence that they experienced, the moment you experience that aspect, automatically there is a name that comes to describing that aspect. Do you understand? Achyuta, they experienced it. Damodara, Krishna, they experienced that. So name comes immediately, describing that aspect of Bhagavan. Yani namani gaunani rishibihi parigitani. Not only they were singing parigitani in ecstasy, in the proximity, in one with Bhagavan, with that selfless love, they could not stop. It came pouring out. And that itself, Vikhyatani, what happens? Something that is formless, something that is beyond the ability of the mind and the words to capture. How can I even begin to talk about it and with my limited senses? Vikhyatani, it manifests itself in the way that you describe it. But it is beyond all that. Vikhyatani, it manifests itself so beautifully, so fantastically from what these rishis gave. Tani vakshyami, those names, those gunas, tani. Now, what did the Rishibihi Parigitani, what is the Rishibis Vikhyatani, what is the Namani and Gaunani of what? Mahatmanaha. Mahatmanaha. What is this entity? Mahatmanaha is also one description only of this indescribable thing. What is it? Beautifully, Shankara Bhagavad Padal teaches us Atma, word that we use. He says there are 4 aspects of Atma he describes, the word Atma. Okay? One is Atma means thing that is present within, indweller. This is Atma. Is another way he describes it. One who is controlling everything. Atma. There's a Sanskrit scholar here, so I'm sure she will take notes and she'll be very happy. Atma is another word he describes. The effulgence from within. That's the meaning of that. So we saw Atma, Atma, Atma. Then Atma is Atma. The word, moment you say At, immediately your mind automatically catches that word, isn't it? Something that is within. That is Vishnu. Is present, the indweller, the entity, the subtlest one that is present within. So those are the 4 meanings given. That Mahatmanaha, Namani Gaunani, Yani Namani Gaunani, Rishibihi, Parigitani, Vikhyatani, because they Parigitani, because they sang in ecstasy, they all manifested themselves, all these names. That is why we say Krishna, we say Rama, we say Govinda, all these names comes. Where were they before? Right? So, Tani. Those names, these rishis, the infinite names out of which they have captured some, that's all. They experienced only some. Those names, Tani, Vakshyami, I will say, I will speak. Why? Bhutaye. To remove, to eliminate the miseries and the sadness of humanity. Because he is asking for their salvation as a remedy, for not for himself, but for all the beings. Bhutaye. Tani Vakshyami Bhutaye. Okay? Now we'll take one more, and that will be the end of what in Sankara Bhashyam, and then the other ones we will cover. Okay, I'm probably maybe going over time, but that's okay. This is very important to understand. That's why I want to stop here. After saying that, why Bhishmacharya was so qualified to teach? Because he was putting into practice all the things that he was teaching. That is why he was a teacher. That's why he was an acharya. And the knowledge he was putting into practice, that even Krishna Bhagavan himself points the directions and directs Yudhishthira to go and learn from him, is because the knowledge he put into practice was a supreme knowledge. And these Rishibhihi Parigitani, when he says, he's not joking. He points out in the next slokam and gives credit to where it belongs. The sign of humility, in utter humility. He's not, me mataha, in my opinion, is what he says. He's not talking about this is what Bhagavan is and all that. This is the sign of greatness. When you listen to Paramacharya's discourses, very seldom, if at all, you will hear the word I. His whole discourse would be speaking in such a way, the I will be absent. Now, every time we speak, how many times we use I and me and all that. Just point out, that is a sign of phenomenal advancement on spirituality. The I will not be present. That's how you hear the same way the humility is going to say the next slokam. Vishnor nama sahasrasya vedavyaso mahan rishihi chandonushtup tata devo bhagavan devaki sutaha. This, the Rishir Namnam Sahasrasya, that's another way people say. Okay, Rishir Namnam Sahasrasya Vedavyaso Mahamunihi Vishnor Nama Sahasrasya Vedavyaso Mahamunihi. These are different padangal. Now, important is these Rishir Namnam Sahasrasya, Vishnoho Nama Sahasrasya, both meaning the same. All the names that is given by all these rishis, how did I know? How did I come to know about it? Or Vishnu Nama Sahasrasya, all these names that is given by rishis in the previous program we saw that he is talking about. That how did I come to know? Vedavyaso Mahan Rishihi. This Vedavyasa Maharishi, he has compiled. I learned it from him. See how beautifully he says. You understand? It is not me telling you. I learned it from this Maharishi Vedavyasa, who compiled all these names given by the various rishis. Because Bhagavan is not that simple matter, but please don't slight him, He is simple. If you treat him simply, he'll hug him, he'll hug you back. But that is where I learned it from. And these names that I'm going to tell you, they are in the Chanda Anushtup Tata. Chandaha, Chandonushtup Tata is that Tata. Therefore, those names that I learned from him, they are in the grammar, in the meter called Anushtup meter. Chandaha is a poetic meter. Chandaha also means Vedangal, but in this case it means poetic, the meter in which a poetry is written. Now, in poem you learn, in English poem you learn it different ways, right? There are different meters to write. Same way, there are 8 meters if you round the right. And it is Anushtup meter, Anushtup Chandaha, which has got, it is so beautiful that it is given in a couplet form, very easy to recite. Even when we recite it, is so natural, so beautiful it is. But why is it has got, you break it into 1 quarter, 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, it all will be equal. Okay, no problem at all. Okay, it will be so beautiful. But it has got 8 what we call Veer Erthikal. That means the thing that brings out the life to it. That makes it even for us, we relate to it. It's a natural connection we have with the sound. Okay? And that enlives us, whatever. That we recital. It has got that. That meter, that Anushtup Chandaha. Now, all slokangal are written praising a deva, a god. When you do a simple thing, you can relate to when you do the homam, navagraha homam, immediately you see navagrahas are the devas that you're directing it to, right? Or you do Sudarshana homam like that, right? But so every time, and when you go and do an archana, you go to Karisiddhi Hanuman temple, you go to Hanuman, then you go to do archana to Hanuman. Like that, there is a target, right? So who is the target, the deva in this? Okay, that is Bhagavan Devaki Sutaha. Very important to understand. Very important, because this ties to the last slokam of Vishnu Sahasranamam. Now Bhishmacharya speaking here, and who's present in front of him is Devaki Sutaha. Krishna is present. Right? He says this Sahasranamam, the Deva, is in praise of Devaki Sutaha. Okay? So we'll stop at that, and next with the other things we'll continue in the next class with Bhagavan's grace. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.